Imagine standing, I don't know, right on the edge of a trapeze platform.
Okay, terrifying.
Right.
Yeah.
But below you, there's this massive, intricate, invisible net stretching across the entire globe.
Yeah.
You're completely trusting it to hold you up. And that net is basically the global aviation system you rely on every time you book a ticket.
Yeah, you just expect it to be there.
Exactly. And looking at the inaugural edition of the Daily Aviation News Show, the Safwion Brief, you realize just how many threads in that net are being stress tested at this very moment.
It's so true. I mean, most of the time, we don't even think about the individual threads until, one snaps. Take the really chilling situation with the K2 Airways Boeing 737-400 freighter.
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one.
It really is. You had 5 crew members on a ferry flight from Sharjah to Karachi, and it simply vanishes just over the Arabian Sea. They've identified wreckage, but the cause remains an absolute blank.
It's a really heavy reminder of the stakes here. But then, the Safwion Brief juxtaposes that terrifying unknown with a very loud, very visible safety catch.
Right, the British Airways incident.
Yeah. Over at London Gatwick, they outright canceled a flight to Barbados because 2 pilots were allegedly found intoxicated before departure. They had to swap the crew, put all the passengers in hotels.
Which is obviously a nightmare for the passengers. But honestly, that is the system working. It's highly inconvenient, sure, but it's the net catching human error before it turns into a tragic K2 scenario.
Okay, sure, the net caught them. But, from a passenger's perspective, relying on a last-minute sobriety check at the actual airport feels less like a functioning safety net, more like, I don't know, a systemic failure upstream.
You think it should have been caught earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do 2 allegedly intoxicated pilots make it all the way to the aircraft before someone finally pulls the plug?
That's a fair challenge. It really highlights that safety management systems aren't just about, a plane's mechanical sensors. They are highly behavioral.
Right.
So the quote-unquote catch often happens at the very last gate simply because that's where the final mandatory human cross-checks are flustered.
Well, speaking of mandatory cross-checks, it's not just the cockpit where the human element gets messy. Look at ground operations in Manila at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport.
Oh, the tarmac incident? Yeah.
A Saudia Boeing 787 wingtip slices right into a parked Philippine Airlines A320 during taxi. Just a multi-million-dollar fender bender. No injuries, thankfully, but just a massive operational headache.
And it shows how ground navigation relies heavily on spatial awareness, which is, incredibly vulnerable to momentary human lapses, even with all the tech in the cockpit.
Right, but here's what gives me absolute whiplash. You have Philippine Airlines dealing with a sliced-up A320 on the tarmac, and at the exact same time, their executive team is evaluating billion-dollar fleet modernizations.
It is quite the split-screen reality.
They are weighing the Boeing 777X against the Airbus A350-1000 for their long-haul expansion. Are these teams just completely walled off from each other?
I mean, they have to be. You're talking about 2 entirely different timelines here. The ops team is doing damage control today, but the strategy team is deciding what kind of airline PL wants to be in, 2035.
So what's the actual debate between those 2 planes? Why those specific models?
It fundamentally comes down to efficiency versus volume.
Okay.
The A350 offers a composite body, highly efficient fuel burn, perfect for ultra-long-haul routes, whereas the 777X offers just massive passenger capacity.
Wow.
And so PL isn't just buying metal. They're trying to predict whether route frequency or raw passenger density will dominate the North American and European markets a decade from now.
So they're betting on the entire future architecture of their airline. But, changing aircraft is one thing. Merging entire operational architectures is a totally different beast.
Up here, you're talking about the Sun Country and Allegiant news?
Yeah. The Safwion Brief noted they just hit a regulatory holy grail. FAA approval to operate under a single air operator certificate, or AOC.
Right, and while they are keeping their separate consumer brands behind the scenes, this is the ultimate milestone of their merger.
It's kind of like a couple getting a joint bank account but keeping their own surnames, right?
That is exactly what it is.
But what does a single AOC actually do for them operationally?
Well, it standardizes the machinery. Instead of running 2 parallel safety manuals, 2 separate pilot training programs, 2 different maintenance schedules.
Oh, wow, that sounds exhausting.
It is. So now it all fuses into one legal and operational framework. It massively reduces overhead and streamlines legal liability.
So they're consolidating resources to just simplify the headache. But what happens when you don't care about simplicity and have practically unlimited resources?
Oh, boy. Presidential logistics.
Exactly. President Trump recently executed a multi-plane Air Force One mission that sounds exhausting just to try and track.
The coordination is dizzying. I mean, he flew a new Qatar-gifted Boeing 747 to Turkey.
Okay.
Then, to visit U.S. service members at RAF Mildenhall in the UK, he switched to the older Air Force One.
Naturally.
Right. And then after showcasing the new jet there, he reboarded the Qatar-gifted 747 for the trip back to the United States.
It's just wild. When you remove cost constraints, massive, heavy jets just become like batons in an international relay race. It's the ultimate logistical flex.
It really is. Whether it's standardizing a single regulatory certificate for a merged airline or, juggling 747s across continents, you see the sheer scale of high-level aviation logistics at play.
Which leaves you with something to really ponder the next time you book a flight. As airlines engineer these ultra-advanced wide-body jets and consolidate into massive corporate empires to perfect the science of flight,
Right.
will the everyday human element, whether it's a pilot's sobriety, a momentary lapse steering on a taxiway, or an unnoticed flaw in a sprawling system, always remain aviation's most unsolvable variable? It's definitely something to think about the next time you trust that invisible net to catch you.